Hey, this is Glenn. Because I have ridden a motorcycle, I have a bad habit of getting hit by distracted drivers. More than 6 times. 3 times it really hurt me physically. Figured this was a good platform to share these stories. First time I got hit, 1998-99 in Reno, Nevada. I rode a Harley-Davidson Sportster. At a 4-way stop, I have the right of way, and I get out in the middle of an intersection. A distracted driver guns it right across the intersection, and I hit her front quarter panel. Dropped the bike, was low speed, and I'm in my 20s. I don't think that I've hurt myself, damaged the bike, definitely. She gets out, immediately starts crying and panicking. Oh, it's my fault, I'm sorry. It was her fault. Insurance agreed, but I didn't think I was hurt. I picked my bike up as fast as I could to get it out of the intersection and screwed my back up. Didn't feel it until the next day or so. Still wasn't thinking I got damaged in a motorcycle accident because I was young and thought I was invincible. So I go to a chiropractor and I'm telling him, yeah, I messed my back up. And he says, well, how'd you do it? And I said, oh, this lady pulled out in front of me and I hit my bike, hit her, and then I dropped it and I was picking it up. He says, wait, you were in an accident? I said, yeah. He said, did you report it? I said, yeah, it's an insurance accident. He said, but okay, now this is a whole new thing. Because you've done damage. And it turned out it messed my back up, my lower back especially. It was tight and weird for years, because what I found is soft tissue damage is, it lasts a long time because your body kind of is always offsetting. That's my first story. And I always try to have morals to my story. And I would say that first accident, don't ever think you're too strong or too cool. On a motorcycle, there's no backup plan. You're out front, so when a multi-thousand-pound vehicle slams into you, it can mess you up. Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times, and this is a series about those adventures. I got some great comments from the first video. The reason I ride is it makes me appreciate what I have and its absolute focus. Where I think that in cars, I call them personal luxury chariots. Because we're going to sit in traffic, we've built our whole lives around being distracted in cars. We've got our phones, we've got the music, we've got the dogs, we've got the kids, we've got the friends, we're eating, we're drinking. On a motorcycle, you can't really do any of that or you really suffer the consequences. So thanks for the comments. I will address them as we move on. I wanted to talk about a follow-up to my first accident. So my first accident, I went and saw a chiropractor and then I started seeing a physical therapist. I didn't get into riding for the cool factor. It was kind of a byproduct, and it wasn't so much for attracting women, which is not really what motorcycles do. But whenever I'd walk through a mall or outdoors somewhere and I'd have my motorcycle helmet with me, a little kid would walk by and say, hey, motorcycle man. And that just made my day. I don't know why. It just little kids thinking that motorcycles are cool. It just made me feel good. But I was in my 20s, this first accident, and I was single and I went into physical therapy and the physical therapist was really attractive. I remember thinking, well, I don't really consider myself a cool, but I was a motorcycle rider. And so maybe I've got some cool vibe about me. The thing is though, I was a broken motorcycle rider. So she The first thing she did is put me on a yoga ball and had me splay out with all my 4 limbs out. And she said, okay, now lift one leg. And I thought, oh, this is no problem. But my lower back was screwed up and I had no balance. And so I'm looking like a fool in front of who I think is a woman that I'd like to attract. Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times, and this is a storytelling series outlining those incidents. So, second time I got hit, 2005, I'm still on my Harley Davidson Sportster. It's got a different paint job from the last time I got hit. I live in a little town outside of Riverside, California called Ribido, and I am going into Riverside. I have to cross a bridge and then you go around a mountain, and the bridge and the street are pretty thin, so I'm not splitting lanes. And of course, because I'm not splitting lanes, a dude rear ends me. It's unbelievable when a multi-thousand-pound vehicle hits you and you don't see it and you don't weigh multi-thousand pounds, because the physics just doesn't make sense. You're all of a sudden moving more and around and weird and you can't control and you don't know why. The funny thing is, the guy that hit me was mad at me. And I think he's mad because when you are a driver and you hit a motorcyclist, you realize that you can do a lot of damage. It's not just bumper cars. It's not just hitting another car. So the weight and the gravity of what you could actually do to someone hits you. And if you're this guy, it comes out in anger. So I'm not really hurt. I call 911 and they say, well, are you bleeding? And I say, no. And they said, just exchange insurance information. So I exchange insurance information and I'm able to limp my motorcycle off to the side and get it out of the way. And I again get a new paint job for my Harley Davidson Sportster. One of the things that motorcyclists really feel is they like splitting lanes because they can never trust that some car won't hit them. And when you're splitting lanes, no one is necessarily able to rear end you, to do something where you can't see them coming up on you or turning into you. That also really annoys drivers, splitting lanes. It scares them. But I say, well, I've got a butt and you've got a butt. Why do you get to take up so much space? Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times, and this is a video series outlining those incidents. Third time I got hit, Riverside, California, 2005. I make a right-hand turn onto a main drag that the freeway dumps out into, and it's 2 lanes going each way, but there's road construction on the curb side. So when I make a right-hand turn, I have to pull into the lane closest to oncoming traffic. Oncoming traffic is stopped waiting for a red light. There's a huge line. It's rush hour. I get up to about almost 20 miles an hour. The road construction ends on my right-hand side, but right then a car pulls from behind me to beside me. So I can't get away from stop traffic, because stop traffic is an opportunity for you to get hit as a motorcycle rider. You know this because those people jump out. They don't want to wait and stop traffic. And sure enough, this Dodge Durango that's waiting in the left-hand turn lane, stopped in this long line, pops out into my lane to cut across, I think, into the gas station that is on my right-hand side. But it pops out in front of me and I don't have time to stop. And just like in the movies, my memory is of just flashes of poof, getting closer and closer to this Dodge Durango, the front end of this Dodge Durango. And I slam into the front of the Dodge Durango. And I hit the ground. Now I'm all tied up in my motorcycle, and my motorcycle is all tied up in the Dodge Durango. This woman comes around panicking. I remember her as the driver, but the police report said the male was the driver. Either way, this woman comes out and she's crying and sobbing, and she grabs me and starts to pull me, try to extricate me from the mess. And I said, "Stop, let go, call 911." And she backs off, and then she grabs my bike and she starts to pull on my bike. And I say, "Stop, call 911." And she again kind of snaps to it and then runs out of the scene. And I'm looking down at my leg, and my left lower leg has an extra joint in it. And I think, that's not good. By this time, witnesses are coming all around me because it's a big accident scene. And one of the guys who's kind of leading all of the witnesses says, "Hey, do you need to call anyone?" And I said, "Yeah, call 911. And he said, "No, we already did that. Do you need to call family members?" And the only person I could think of was my mother back in Sacramento. So snap back to when I'm 10 years old, and I am absolutely distracted with people who have been mutilated in some way. They've lost an arm or a leg, and I make my mother promise me that if something like that ever happens, that she has to kill me. So my mother holds on to this memory. The only person I can think to call is my mother at this moment. So I have the guy call my mother's phone, and I'm on speakerphone. I have bystanders everywhere. And my mother answers. I yell out through my helmet, through everything, "Hey, Mom, I was in a motorcycle accident. I'm still alive. I don't think I have any head damage. Looks like I broke my leg." And she says, "Good, so we don't have to kill you?" And all of the bystanders just, their mouth is agape, right? They can't believe that my mother just said, "Oh, good, so we don't have to kill you?" So I hang up with my mother, and just then, the Dodge Durango, which I am tied to because my body is in my bike and my bike is in the Dodge Durango. The Dodge Durango starts to pull backwards, and it starts to pull me, and everyone says, "Stop!" And so then the car stops. And then, since that movement happened, we start to smell gas. My gas tank is leaking. And everybody, bystanders, the leader, the guy that had the phone call, gave me the phone call, says, "Get him out!" And starts to grab me. I said, "Stop! Wait for 911. And they back off. And the guy, I swear, this is what he said. He looked around and he said, "Okay, nobody smoke." That is where I will leave this story. It is arguably the most devastating motorcycle accident I have been in. So there are a lot of stories around it. To this date, though, I say you can either have a motorcycle or people who love you. You can't have both, because when you have a motorcycle, you are putting yourself in excessive danger, and that is a mental drain on the people who love you. Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times, and this is a video series talking about that. We've been through 3 accidents, and I've been getting some comments, and I wanted to kind of do a palate cleanser, because I'm getting comments that say, "Well, you've been hit more than 6 times. What's the common denominator?" It's, obviously they're inferring it's my fault, and there must be something about me that I'm doing that gets me hit. And sure, I've tried to look at that. I mean, I'm living my life. I've got the insurance reports and the police reports and the people admitting
that they were at fault. I'm not a adrenaline junkie, so I'm not one of those motorcycle riders that goes out and does stupid things. I just like the meditative aspects of riding a motorcycle. I like the focus. I like the sacrifice of really paying attention to what you're doing, which again is not necessarily what the drivers do. So the conclusion I've come to is it's really a majority versus minority thing. Car drivers are in the majority and they need to be right. And in fact, we built our whole modern world, especially in the United States, around driving cars and having cars. We have this system where we're expected to have vehicles. We have drive-throughs, so people are supposed to eat in their vehicles. We have apps that we can order both cars and food online where the drivers, the employees, are supposed to be looking at a phone while they are driving. So we can't be wrong. Unless you are drunk or run away when you hit someone, it's called an accident. It's not a crime. Because if we made it a crime, then the people that hit people with their cars would be in the wrong. And we can't have that because we need our cars and we love our cars. I've had friends of mine insist that they are better drivers with a phone in their hand, insist that they are better drivers high. And the only way I can look at it is when people tell me that I can't ride a motorcycle, they're telling me that I can't go on the playground because I'm going to get beat up by the bullies. Because I'm small and the bullies will push me around or they won't see me and they'll run over me. The other thing I equate it to is kind of this victim blaming thing where someone is telling me, you can't wear that dress to the club because you're going to get drugged. And I get it, but is that what we're really aiming for? I mean, I just want people to stop hitting me. And I've been a forced pedestrian for 3 years. We'll get to my other motorcycle accident adventures in other videos. But the only reason I haven't been hit by a car as a pedestrian is I have no weight in between my legs like a motorcycle, so I can jump out of the way. Drivers don't look for anything else but cars and other drivers. It's a majority-minority thing. And I'm kind of challenging that. I'm saying maybe that's not cool. Maybe you shouldn't hit people. And if you ever want to kill somebody and get away with it, use your car. Because if you're not drunk and you don't run away, it's an accident.
Hey, this is Glenn. I have been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times. And this is a video series outlining those incidents. The 3rd time I got hit, I got obliterated. I got my lower leg broken. I got my hip broken. I had to relearn how to walk. And everyone was just kind of, I thought, callous. They had this attitude of, you deserve what you get. You play with fire, you get burned. And I could be sensitive, right? I had just been obliterated by a Dodge Durango. Sure, I'm sensitive. I could have been imagining it. But I just thought, wow, if I got shot, people would be a little more kind to me or a little more forgiving or let me be a victim a little bit. But I didn't think it happened. My orthopedic surgeon wrote out a script and it said, sell motorcycle. And I just thought, hey man, I can't even walk. What are you doing? My motorcycle is destroyed. My boss, I was teaching at UC Riverside at the time, and it was finals, and I had these final projects that I had to grade, and he said, grades got to get done. So as I am in the hospital, just being broken, he's bringing in folders for me to grade, and I'm grading while I'm on pain medication. Brutal. And then the guy that hit me was underinsured. So I was going to sue him and I was going to get as much as possible. The police
had recognized it was his fault. The insurance had recognized it was his fault. He had destroyed my life. So I'm going to get something. And everyone around me was just, man, just let it go. And I couldn't figure out why. But I had a guy visit me once, and everyone, when they found out I was in a motorcycle accident, they either wanted to talk about how dangerous motorcycles were, or they were motorcyclists and they wanted to talk about how cars were jerks. And this guy was a motorcyclist. And he said, yeah, man, I hate those cars. When they cut me off, I pull in front of them and I have ball bearings in my pocket and I'll throw one out at him. I said to him, I said, you got to stop that, man. Cars hate us. That is why drivers hate us. And we're not all jerks. You have to stop doing that. They will always win. They outweigh us. So if you are a motorcyclist, please don't get angry at cars. They're always bigger. They will always win. And if you are a driver, please know not all motorcyclists are jerks. We're just trying to get from point A to point B, and we're doing it on a vehicle that we have chosen to be smaller than yours. Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times, and this is a storytelling series outlining those experiences. So after my 3rd accident, which demolished me, broke my leg and hip, had to relearn how to walk, it took me 7 years for my body to really get back together. I ended up getting married, and so I was not going to stress my wife out by getting back on a motorcycle, even when I was well enough to do so. So I was off a motorcycle for 10 years. But in 2015, reformatting my life, marriage didn't work out. I moved to Los Angeles, and I decided that I was not going to live my life stopped in traffic. So I was going to get back on a motorcycle, and I was going to ride like everyone was out to kill me all of the time. And that worked for many years. But then they started hitting me while I was stopped. And you can't really do anything while you're stopped. The first one was fortunately incidental. I was in Glendale, California around 2020. I just come off the highway, and I was down at the bottom of the off-ramp, and I stopped, and a guy behind me did not stop. Fortunately for me, I'm riding an electric motorcycle now, and it doesn't have a rear fender, so he doesn't have anything to smash. But he drives up on top of my bike. Now I've got this vehicle that I am trying to support, and it's moving me back and forth. And I kept telling him, I turned around, I was like, back up, because he was on top of my bike and I was trying not to fall over. So he eventually backed up. He was very annoyed, and everyone behind him was very annoyed. And because he only hit rubber and he went on top of my tire, and my tire held the weight, everything looked okay. So we just kind of collected ourselves and moved on. It gets worse from there, and we'll cover more in the next story. Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times, and this is a storytelling series outlining those adventures. This is time number 5. I'm in North Hollywood / Burbank, 2021. It's at night, and I pull up to a stoplight, left-hand turn. I am second in line. I've got a Jeep in front of me. All of a sudden, that Jeep starts backing up, and I start pulling my bike back to try to not get hit by him, and I'm yelling. Now, I probably should have hit the horn, but I was in panic mode, so I couldn't hit the horn and pull the bike back at the same time. This guy just kept coming, and he rolls over my front wheel. Now I'm supporting the weight of the Jeep on my front wheel. He's cracking my front fender. I'm yelling at him, move forward, pull forward. He finally sees me. He can tell that he hit something, so he pulls forward. He stops, he gets out, and he says, man, I'm so sorry. I was on the phone with my wife, and she was yelling at me to get home, so I threw it in reverse to try and trigger the light. He then says, can we just handle this between you and me? And I'm looking at my bike, and I say, no, man. So we're going to do everything official. And we're exchanging information, and I give him my business card, and he looks and he sees that I'm a filmmaker producer, and he says, oh, I have a prop house I rent to movie houses. Would you like to rent from me maybe? And I just was thinking, man, you just ran over me. Why would I want to give you business?
Hey, this is Glenn. I have been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times. 6 times, it's been significant. This is a storytelling series outlining those episodes. Collision number 6, 2022, Burbank at night. I'm delivering food, specifically a Subway sandwich, to a hotel, what used to be the Holiday Inn. It's now under new management. They have a big sign down below. I'm at a stoplight in a left-hand turn lane, waiting for my light to turn green so I can drop this sandwich off. I see the sign that says Holiday Inn is under new management, but I know Holiday Inn has a big lit sign up top. So I look up while I'm waiting to see if they've changed the sign. Suddenly, I think I must be on LSD because my world is changing. The view is changing. What is happening? And then I hit the ground. A driver who was turning left on her green cut her left turn too short and cut it into my lane, into me. She flipped me bull riding style. I landed on the asphalt, half on my bike, which was laying on its side, and my top half was landing on the asphalt. There was a witness. She comes up, she says, "Are you okay?" I say, "Call 911. She repeats, "Are you okay?" I just keep repeating, "Call 911. I'm also checking my body when I'm saying this to make sure I'm okay. She keeps repeating, "Are you okay?" I was getting frustrated, but I don't want to be a jerk. What I wanted to say is, I just got hit by a car. No, I'm not okay. But that's a jerky thing to say. So I repeat, "Call 911. But I think that time I barked it in frustration. And she retorted, "Well, I'm just trying to help." And I think I apologized. I'm not quite sure. So I'm still doing my body check. And a woman comes crying, saying, "I'm so sorry." And I remember thinking, don't be a jerk, but I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do when people are crying and sad that they have destroyed me. So I'm still checking myself out. The paramedics get there. They say, "Can you stand?" And I say, "I don't know. Do you want me to try?" And they say, "Yes." They help me and they pull me up. And as soon as I stand on my own, one of them says, "He can bear weight. We're not taking him to the ER." Apparently, the emergency room had a flare-up of COVID and they didn't want to take me to go get COVID. So I can walk on my own, but I am walking like a broken John Wayne. My legs are all bowed out. My knees are not working correctly. But I remember I still have a Subway sandwich to deliver. So I start texting on the app, "In an accident, we'll be there as soon as possible." As I'm waiting for AAA, I'm talking with DoorDash, trying to figure out how I can get this sandwich canceled or delivered. I can't get it canceled, but I'm only half a block from where I'm supposed to deliver it. I was supposed to deliver it at that Holiday Inn, the Holiday Inn under new management. So I text the guy, "I was in an accident. I'll be there as soon as I can." The tow truck shows up. I pull the sandwich out of my bike top box. They take the motorcycle away. I tell them, "Deliver it to this certain address." And I walk the sandwich to the guy at the hotel. And I meet him out front. And he says, "That was you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, you're going to hurt in the morning." And that was an understatement. Hey, this is Glenn. I've been hit by distracted drivers more than 6 times. This is a storytelling series outlining those incidents. This is the last in the series. It's the follow-up to the final accident. I have been a forced pedestrian for more than 3 years.
been in physical therapy, trying to rehabilitate from this last motorcycle accident. It was all soft tissue damage, so physicians are very frustrated because there's nothing acute that they can do surgery with. Everything has just been time and physical therapy after physical therapy. One of the funny things is the medical profession loves dealing with acute things that they can fix. So they kept asking me when I got hit, what part hurts most? And I kept saying, my whole body got hit by a car. Everything hurts. And they said, well, what hurts most? So it has been this journey of, well, okay, my right knee. Well, now can we work on my left knee? Now what can we work on my lower back? Now can we work on my upper back? Now can we work on my shoulder? And with damage, everything is always realigning itself. So one thing will hurt less, one thing will hurt more, and it just goes on and on and on. My physicians are often very frustrated with me. For example, when I was asking if I could see a physical therapist for my other knee, my primary care physician said in frustration, everybody gets hit by cars. You should just thank God you're alive. I thought, wow, everybody's mad at a motorcyclist for getting hit. My neurologist, because my legs were numb every time I'd sit down, so I had to have that worked out. I ended up having spinal injections. And the first time I sat down with her, she said, you have to stop riding a motorcycle. And my question to her was, well, you have patients that are in car accidents that come to see you. Yes. Do you tell them they have to stop driving a car? No. Well, why am I special? And the reason I'm special is because everyone hates motorcyclists. Motorcyclists are the minority. Motorcyclists are a reminder to drivers that they can't just play bumper cars, that it actually affects people in the world. One of the things we talk about cars being safe. Cars are built to be safer for the people inside the car, but they don't build them to be safer for the people that the driver hits. So that is also something that's it makes drivers very angry because they realize that their cars are not safe. So not only am I trying to get the word out about what accidents do to people, but I want to remind people that motorcyclists are people too. And maybe, and I know this really frustrates car drivers, the more damage your vehicle can cause, i.e. the bigger the vehicle, maybe the more responsibly you have to drive. And I know that is such a problem with people because we've built our lives out of being distracted. We have our phones, we get notifications, we have our dogs, we have our coffee, we have our food, we have our families and our kids and our friends, and we're all supposed to be stuck in traffic and love the commute. And so we built this world inside our cars that's a world of distraction to placate us while we're waiting in traffic. And so we don't want to be told by a motorcyclist that we have to pay attention, but that's why I'm here. Any input you have is great input. I want to get the word out there that motorcyclists are people too. Maybe we should all be a little more aware when we're driving out there. Those cars are potential weapons of mass destruction. I look forward to any comments. Thanks so much.